I am on page 107 in the exercises book. We're looking at lesson 6.3, and this is the exercise set for identifying key features of a graph. I want to go ahead and take a look at these. Do I need to copy them into my... I don't think so. I think I'm good. If I do need to copy them into my notebook, we'll do that. But it says questions 1 through 4 are based on the graph below. And it is a parabola that is opening downwards. So just a few things that I can tell you by looking at this parabola, and you can tell me. We can determine the y-intercept. It's going to be at 0. And then let me look at the scale. So each line is 3, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. The x-intercepts are at, this one looks like, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8. So 2, 4, about 5, 0. And then back here we have about -3, 0, maybe -3.5. But that's pretty close. And then we do have a line of symmetry right here. It is not the y-axis because the peak of that parabola is up here. So you want to be sure that you can identify the line of symmetry. And that line of symmetry is at x equals 1. So we see that's a maximum also. We have a relative maximum. I could tell you in this equation, if I could see the equation, we would have f of x equals negative x squared, and then some more stuff. But I know that it has a negative slope downward. It's not really slope. I guess it is. It opens in the negative direction. The flower's wilting instead of opening to the sun. So just by looking at the graph, I can tell you quite a bit about it. But let's look at the questions and see what they're asking. What is the line of symmetry in the graph? Well, we've already determined that, where x is 1. So I like E for this one. In other words, that's where the mirror would be if we had mirror images. Number 2, what is the x-intercept, or what are the x-intercepts of the graph? We have 2. We have one at -3 and +5. So B is going to be the answer. What is the y-intercept of the graph? That is at 0, 15. And what is or are the negative intervals of the graph? Now remember what the definition of a negative interval is. It is that point on the graph, or that section of the graph, where the graph is descending. Okay? Now don't be misled by the end behavior. This is a little bit tricky, so let's be sure that we know what it's talking about. We have, I'm sorry, I get those mixed up every time. The negative interval. Let me write this out so that I know what I'm talking about. I get this mixed up with the decreasing interval. I always have, and I think I probably always will. So the negative interval are the x values where the graph is below the x-axis. This is why I get it mixed up, because I want to think of that as y's. To me, if it's below the x-axis, we're talking about y's, but we're not. We're talking about the interval on the graph that is below the x-axis. So here we have part of it that is below the x-axis, and here we have part of it that is below the x-axis. But what we're actually looking at will be the x values for which that is true. So it's not so much that yellow section as it's going to be this section. This line that's coming down and this line that bound that section. So I would say that when x is less than -3, which is this point right here, so below -3, or when x is greater than +5, we have a negative interval. Not a decreasing interval, but the negative interval. And I always get those mixed up. In fact, I'm so much prone to that, I'm going to check this answer. But here's the answer. I believe it is. Let me check in the back of the book. I dropped it, page 107. Okay, let's just check them all. Number 1 should be E. Number 2 should be B, as in boy. Number 3 should be D, as in dog. And number 4 should be B, as in boy. So that is correct. And I apologize. That has always given me trouble. I'm going to stop this video and we'll start the next one on the next page.